over the books that I had read for May. I had read quite a few books for the month of May, with it being Witchathon. I think that was like the major driving force behind my reading speed, because I just wanted to finish all the books for the readathon. But for the month of May, I read 17 books, about 5,121 pages read. That's just an estimate. I only listened to like 3 hours of an audiobook. I was mostly reading physical books at this time. All 17 of these books were library books, 3 were rereads, 6 series started, and 8 diverse reads. The source of these books, 11 were ebooks, 5 was physical, and 1 was a mixture of like ebook and an audiobook. The formats, 8 were graphic novels, 2 mangas, and 7 were novels. The audiences for these books, 7 were adult and 10 were YAs. In the genres, I had 5 contemporary, 2 fantasy, 1 historical, 1 horror, 6 nonfiction, 1 paranormal, and 1 retelling. Those are just the kind of like a brief overview of like my stats for the month of May. Now I'll go into the books. Book number 1, Journeys with Plant Spirits, Plant Magic Consciousness, Healing and Natural Magic Practices by Emma Farrell. This was the So Mote It Be book club pick for the month of April, and it was a NetGalley book I was given for review and that I had neglected in the past, but I ended up giving it 3 stars. Instead of it being more of a like a encyclopedia or like a thesaurus or whatever of books, like where I expected it being more of an herbology book, it was just more of a memoir of the author in her time with practicing meditations and stuff of these books and tapping into the natural magic that those plants had. It only had like a small handful of plants that she went over it, and I guess I was expecting it to be more in depth with the plant work and not more in her experience learning about the plants. Book 2 was Lore Olympus Volume 2 by Rachel Smith. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I loved the art style of this, of how the different colors really kind of fits the characters, but I didn't feel like much had happened in this volume, so I'm interested in seeing what volume 3 gets into. Books 3 through 6 are the Heartstopper series. I read volumes 1 through 4 by Alice Oseman. I reread volumes 1 and 2 and really enjoyed it. Volume 3 was part of my tarot TBR for the month of May, and all of them got 4 stars. I really enjoyed this story. It's such a sweet, wholesome story, but it does lead into some difficult topics like homophobia. And yeah, homophobia. I'm like second guessing my words now. And also eating disorders and like body image issues and things like that. So it's definitely got some tough topics, but I think it's such a really good view on how everyone how they handle their sexuality and pretty much their self-image and how they deal with that, and how it's harder for others to be happy with who they are. Book 7 was Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. This was a tarot TBR book for the month of May as well, and I also buddy read this with my friend Melissa with Rocket Reads. I gave it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this a lot more than I had anticipated it being, and it's a lot more gory than I had thought it would be. I hadn't really heard too much about this. I heard the title pass along the pipeline in book 2, but I haven't really heard about like what the book was supposed to be about. This is a YA. In the Ashes is a YA, like historical fantasy, like high fantasy novel or series. I believe it's a trilogy if I'm remembering correctly. It follows two main characters, a teen and two teenagers, as they are trying to just kind of live in a world where there's a class system in place. One is a soldier while the other one is a spy, and it kind of tells both of their point of views as they are dealing with their different sides and how they end up meeting together. I really enjoyed it. I am planning on continuing the series, hopefully the rest of this year, or like hopefully sometime soon, so I don't miss the plot or forget the plot of the story. But yeah, I really did enjoy this. Book 8 is Psychic Witch, a metaphysical guide to meditation, magic, and manifestation by Matt Arman. I'll have all the book covers on the screen. Gave this 3.5 stars. I thought it was decent. I'm interested in hearing more from this particular author and just his other works as well. He's supposed to be one of the authors that is speaking at LlewelynCon that happens on June 18th through the 26th, I believe. It's a completely free online virtual like witchy conference that I am hoping to be able to participate in this year. I'm really excited. And Psychic Witch just gives you good tips and meditation practices to use to try to open up that intuition and for you to be more receptive to any psychic frequencies and stuff like that. And I thought it was pretty decent. There are some things I can definitely see myself get into. I just need to be better about meditation, period. I'm not good when it comes to meditation. I get distracted really easily. So I was just trying to like work on that. It is something that I need to do. Book 9 is Growing Joy, The Plant Lover's Guide to Cultivating Happiness by Maria Faya. Butchering names again. I gave this 4 stars. This was the book that got me, like it sparked the I want all the plants phase again for the majority of May. It really gave me good ideas and tips to how to incorporate working with plants in my everyday life, and it really encouraged me to start a better like morning routine of taking the time right when I wake up in the morning to, while I'm doing my normal routine, saying goodbye to Jordan and feeding the cats, and taking the time to actually check on my plants while I'm watering them instead of hopping directly onto screens and spending my morning looking at screens the entire time. I have fallen off of that habit like recently, but because of this book, it gave me really good ideas to kind of incorporate more earth-based stuff into my daily life, and I'm hoping to get back into that kind of ritual. Book 10 is Sheets by Brianna Thumbler. This was 4 stars. I buddy read this with my sister for Witchathon, and it is a graphic novel, YA graphic novel that is a bittersweet story that deals with a teenage girl who is taking up the responsibility of taking care of her dad and her sister after her mother passed away, and running a laundromat or like a dry cleaners store, and her encounters with ghosts and how she is just handling everything after the death of her mom. It was such a bittersweet story, as I said, and I feel like it handled the grief really well. Number 11 is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. This was a book for Tarot TBR. Gave it 3.5 stars. The story was cute, but it was kind of short, and the art style didn't really vibe with me too well. This follows a seamstress, a young teen seamstress, as she is trying to become a fashion designer in kind of like a historical Edwardian kind of like era, and she gets hired by a prince for her, like, to make him dresses as he like dresses up in drag and becomes a completely new person to escape the reality of being a prince. And it just talks about like how he feels like he has to hide who he truly is, and it has a kind of spark of a sweet friendship that starts with them, and talks about how to come out, or like how he comes out to his family with his love of doing those things. I do enjoy it. It's just not something that I can see myself continuing if it ends up becoming a series. I don't believe it will be. It was a sweet story, but it's not something that, like, I think it's the art style really kind of did not vibe well with me, but overall I did enjoy the story. Book 12, Cursed Objects, Strange But True Stories of the World's Most Infamous Items by J.W. Walker. This is a book that I picked up from my library on a whim because I saw the cover and thought it was so pretty. And the title really sparked my interest as well, so I had to pick it up. I gave it 4.5 stars. I definitely want to get my own copy, and I am currently reading one of his other books currently and am enjoying it as well. It's such a good book, especially if some of the things I haven't even heard of before. It does go over some of the infamous objects like Annabelle and the Hope Diamond and things like that. So it definitely goes into that type of stuff, but there are some objects that I hadn't even heard of until I read this book. 13 is My Hero Academia, Volume 1 by Koei Hirokoshi. I apologize to everybody for my pronunciation, but this was a tarot TBR book as well. I gave it 3 stars. This follows a boy as he is trying to get into superhero school without having any special like superhero powers in a world where there are people who believe they're called quirks in this world, where those people tend to become superheroes. But he gets his power from his idol who is looking to retire and get out of the superhero game. I did think it was just all right. It just started out, the main character is actually a little too whiny for my liking, so I wasn't wowed by that, but I'm interested in giving it another shot, at least another volume or 2, to see if I can continue with it. This is a manga that is also an anime that I had seen bits and pieces of episodes from Jordan watching it, so that's the reason why it even piqued my interest before. I know it gets slightly better in the along the timeline. I just have to get to that point where I feel like I even want to continue with the manga or just switch to the anime. Book 14 is Witches of East End by Melissa Delacruz. This is the first book of the Beauchamp family series, and it was the So Motive B Book Club's pick for May. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4.5 stars. It follows the 3 Beauchamp women as they are trying to just have a simple life in the New England area, as they are century-year-old women just trying to make do with the life that they have on a restriction from the council. Due to the Salem witch trials, they have been restricted on not being able to use their magic at all, but then they start to do magic here and there, and things just kind of snowball from there. I really did enjoy this. I didn't realize how heavy-handed the Norse mythology is going to be in it, and I honestly didn't even think there was any type of like mythology based in this series, even though the 2 characters, especially one of the main characters, her name is Freya. I just thought she was just named because since she's a witch, she's named after a witch. I didn't think she was going to actually be Freya. So yeah, I really enjoyed it that was mixed in, even though there are some things that she took liberties with the Norse mythology and kind of exaggerated a little bit based on just from what, like, the stories that I have read, especially about Loki and Freya. There are certain aspects with them that I didn't really vibe with too much, that to me didn't fit with the actual, like, mythology, but it's just the part of a, like, reimagining. But overall, I do recommend this. We are reading book 2, Serpent's Kiss, for the Somewhat to Be book club for June, so definitely, if you would like to join in on the reading of the series, we still have 2 more books left in the series to go, so you're more than welcome to join in. Not sure when the next discussion is going to be, but keep an eye on the book club's Twitter for information about that. Book 15, Master Recipes from the Herbal Apothecary, 375 tinctures, salves, teas, capsules, oils, and washes for whole body health by J.J. Persuel. I hadn't read her previous book, The Herbal Apothecary. I only had picked this one up because it was a reference in the back of one of my witchy books that I found and put on hold. I give it 3.5 stars. I have found this really useful in some parts and would like to have my own copy, because there were a few of the recipes I can see myself using in the future, but I also don't have a lot of the herbs that she has listed in the book, but I would like to have it as a reference in the future. And at the beginning of the month, I had read Alice in Borderland, Volume 1 by Hiro Asio. I gave this 3.5 stars. This is kind of a hybrid of like Alice in Wonderland meets Hunger Games type of vibe, because the main character gets kind of sucked into this other world and has to end up playing a game to kind of survive. It was an interesting take on that kind of like dystopian style of story, so I am interested in continuing with it and seeing where it goes. And the last book is actually the first book that I had read for the month when I was making my list in my like journal to read. I completely forgot about these last 2, so Alice in Borderland and this book were actually like 2 of the first books I read for the month, but the first being Monstrous, a transracial adoption story by Sarah Meyer. I gave this 3 stars. This was a NetGalley arc that I had received for review, and this book actually is releasing this month on the 27th, June 27th. It is a graphic memoir that tells Sarah's story of how her high school career was and how she dealt with the racism and the just like bigoted comments that she got from people, like growing up in a small US town as a Asian who was adopted by a white couple, and just kind of how that impacted her. It was such an important and impactful read that I think everyone should read. It's hard to really rate someone's memoir, but I believe she also did the illustrations in this. The illustrations were great. There was just some points where I felt it was kind of stopping and starting, so it didn't kind of flow as well as I would like it to, but I still did enjoy this, and I highly recommend it to everybody who's looking for a new graphic memoir. But those are the 17 books that I read for the month of May. Let me know in the comments below if you had participated in Widgeathon. What was your favorite read for the readathon, and what was your favorite part about the readathon? And just let me know what you guys had read for the month of May. I would like to know. And until next time, you guys, bye.